Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Ethan and you are watching Stinky Platinums, a weekly video game news, show, and discussion, as well as an excuse for me to delve through my Stinky Platinum addiction. These are shovelware games that have easy platinum trophies. Let's see if I can move that away. Well, that's fine. Yeah, so today is going to be a little bit different for two reasons. Oops, looks like I need to change. Oh, that's right. That's right. Gotta change this for the captions. It's gonna be a little bit different for two reasons. Number one, we're gonna go faster, because we are not playing a Stinky Platinum today. We're playing a regular game, and it's not even on PlayStation. This is on PC. I think it's also a little loud, so let me turn it down. I think that's probably good. And the reason why is because I did not have time to schedule a stream prior to today for us to finish off and get Platinum 200. And I don't want one of these Stinky Platinums to be Platinum 200. So it's going to be a quicker one. We're going to go over the news briefly while I guess we'll just play some of this game here. This game is called UFO 50. I've mentioned it actually previously on the program. It is a collection of 50 NES-style games made by the Spelunky and Downwell and a few other indie devs. As one package, they made 50 games for this, never released before. There's some meta stuff going on over the whole thing, and there's this whole fiction about this fictional company that made all of these games. Back in the 80s, you can actually see in the bottom left, or kind of bottom middle, the year that the game came out, and there's all some goofy little history, you know. This is the first game, and almost, you know, he made it in secret. It's neat. Every single one of these games that I've played so far, and you can see I played the ones because they're lit up, I've had a neat idea. Some of them, I'm like, I don't really want to play this, but I understand the idea. And then some of them, I'm like, oh no, this one rules. This one's really good. Even this one, oh, Bug Hunter, oh, this one's really good, but I do not understand Avianos. Kinda do, but not for me. Maybe it will be, who knows. So yeah, I've actually been playing a lot of Party House and getting frustrated, but enjoying it. It is a weird deck-building game where you're filling out a Rolodex of people to invite to a house party, and you're having, you know, 20-something house parties, with the goal of trying to have a party that has a certain number of very specific people show up. That is an interesting take, and I've actually been really liking the game. So this is probably what we're going to be playing this whole time, because it's easy to do while we talk over the news. So our first topic of the day, Ryujinx, I believe is how you pronounce it. Lower this volume on my end as well. Ryujinx was a Nintendo Switch emulator. To my knowledge, it was completely open source. This house party's gonna end. Oh, there we go. It was completely open source, or at least at the very instance, it was also not using any copyright materials from Nintendo, besides the fact that it was, I believe, reverse engineered Nintendo Switch emulator. Nintendo didn't send a cease and desist letter that we know of. Instead, it's worded that the project is shutting down because the owners of the project reached an agreement with Nintendo to basically shut everything down. This could be a threat of like, hey, we are just going to come and get you. Or we're just going to figure out a way to come and get you, so shut it down. It could be just, hey, here's some money. Do you want some of our stuff? What if we sent you a bunch of stuff? Stop forever. Otherwise, we'll go after you. Maybe they were like that. Who knows? Because we probably never will unless the person decides to come clean, but that might anger Nintendo in such a way. It's a little shitty because there is some back and forth on whether or not the people a part of the emulator, you know, part of that Ryujinx emulator, showed off a screenshot of the newest Legend of Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom, like a week prior before it came out, running on the emulator. Does not seem to be the case. It seems to have just stemmed from Reddit, and people are just taking that to be like, oh, yep, that must be it. Because that's what happened with Yuzu prior. They were brazenly talking openly in their Discord about how to get unreleased Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, to run on the thing, and Nintendo basically claimed that 1 million copies of that game were pirated or whatever. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but it's never a good idea to poke the bear when it comes to ROMs in general. Oh man, the cops have shown up. Good. I'll just boot one of them. The ones with the X's are troublemakers. You get 3 of them, the party ends. But you can end the party early without filling it to capacity. I hate doing that, though, and I like rolling the dice. That's why I get these little cute little puppies. And they cancel out one troublemaker. There's other kinds of troublemaker. Well, so it kind of sucks that Nintendo's doing that. They are doing it because they can do it, and that's why. It's just the way they are. They are a law firm that makes video games, and it sucks because I guess I like that law firm, if you know what I mean. Disappointing, to say the least. It's also one of those things where it's like, maybe wait till they got a new thing going before you really delve in and make your emulation efforts on the last thing known. I don't really know what I'm talking about there. I haven't been a part of any of that scenes. I know with the case of, like, Vim's Lair, which is partially rest in peace, all the Nintendo and Sega and Lego stuff are removed from that, I believe, because Nintendo basically went after them finally. They were around since the 90s. They were, like, the haven that people would get stuff from, if you were into that. Yeah, it didn't matter what their excuses were. It didn't matter what their defenses were. It was just, nope. We're just going to go after you, and we have more money than you, which means that we can drag out... Damn. In a row instantly? Get away? Hate that. Probably not going to win this. I have 18 parties left. There you go. The puppy negates one. There we go. Trying to raise our popularity so we can accrue more people to our party. The next person, I'm going to get to the party as a spy. This is such a good game. Yeah, so Ryujinx, rest in peace. Another Nintendo Switch emulator will surface one of these days. Close that. We don't need that. One of these days, another one will pop up. But here's the thing, too. If Nintendo Switch's successor, as it's currently called, but the Switch 2... is fully backwards compatible and even maybe run some of those games better, if that's just a native part of the backwards compatibility, which I would hope so. Maybe we won't see a Switch emulation scene be as prevalent as like the DS stuff, for instance, for a while, because Switch might still be a focus of Nintendo, which is disappointing, to say the least, because there are some Switch games that run rather poorly on the Switch. Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet. The newest Zelda game, supposedly, doesn't run that great. They could have capped the frame rate at 30, and would have probably surfaced off a lot of the frame rate issues it was having, because it was always higher than 30 is where it was jumping up and down like crazy. So people have said. So it's disappointing that Nintendo went after them. They are just like that, and it sucks. And it's one of those things, too, where just like the Pal World lawsuit, once some of this stuff starts to snowball continuously in their favor, we might reach a point where some other companies are also like brazenly going to go after anyone they can. And that is kind of scary if video games are going to end up like that. This entire, I want to say, like, generally speaking, we're seeing a shift on younger folks online, not necessarily knowing how to navigate some of these spaces, whether they want to participate in some emulation scene, and maybe get the things you might want to have to participate with emulators. If you don't know how to rip your own discs or your own cartridges, those people have grown up in an era where most of the time the internet is accessed through their tablet or phone, through these kind of locked up operating systems with apps, if that makes sense, and not applications. Folders and all that stuff, a little bit different on these platforms. So for these people, they don't really know how to torrent. They're just grabbing stuff off of a very traceable mega upload or a Google Drive folder, which is very, very, very bad and unsafe. And they don't know very basic things. There was in response to this Ryujinx stuff, I saw a thread on Twitter where this guy basically just out of spite just linked all of the popular Nintendo emulators for all of their consoles. And their replies to that were full of children getting upset at the idea that this is now going to make them targets by Nintendo. Like, if you were to Google Nintendo emulator, you're going to find most of these on the first page. And if not, a Reddit thread, like r/ROMs, is going to say, recommend emulators for stuff. Like, all that stuff's very easy to find. But it's a little bit of a cultural difference in the ages. Like, kids don't have computer lab classes in school anymore to learn how to use a computer. So they might not, they're not getting that same experience of, like, knowing how to actually delve into files and, like, mod games. They're watching YouTube videos on how to do that stuff and getting opinions from YouTubers on some stuff. And there are some people that have the very obedience-trained step-on-me corporation attitude of, it's well within their rights to destroy anyone. Please, I need to buy more $60 video games. Kind of sad stuff in my opinion. See, the spy can see who's next. We're gonna boot that person. Perfect. And sure, we'll go with the dog, I guess. That's fine. Okay, so that was the first bit of news. On to the second part. Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of the Super Smash Bros. Series, is what he's most known for. Has, I guess, previously announced, but this has come back through in the cycle of headlines, that yes, his YouTube series, Creating the Game, I believe it's called. I haven't watched, honestly, most of them. I watched the first ones when they were coming out because I was very interested in them. And, it was cool, but I didn't really find too much information on a week-to-week basis that I wanted to pursue, if that makes sense. But yeah, he's ending it. There's going to be a special after the date. I believe the 12th is when he said, so that would be Saturday, I believe, a week from today. Would be the next one, or the final one. And then there is some sort of actual finale planned, a very special one after that. So that's cool for him. I suspect that means that he is going back into more full-time game development. I don't necessarily think he has not been working on anything video game related during this. I can easily see pre-production stuff, part-time on his actual time, working on things with the company. Perhaps Nintendo's like, hey, we would really like another Super Smash Bros. On our next console. Can we start working on this? So folks, remember, Smash Ultimate came out a year into the system's life. For the Wii U, it was 2 years into its life. Same thing with the Wii. And the GameCube was within that first year as well. It was like not quite a launch title. I believe it was in the first 6 months. Maybe I'm wrong. So perhaps they want, to have one out early. Smash Ultimate is the best-selling fighting game of all time. I think still. So perhaps they're like, hey, would you just like a lot of money? Like, what if we gave you like a lot of money? And then like, you just do that. But that's basically it for him. Next up, 2 bits of information. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered launches within the month, I believe, or within a month from now. It's a $10 upgrade if you already have it on PlayStation. And it's $50 overall. It is noticeably different. It's not like The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered where, dog, I barely could tell the difference. Like, I can see the difference in a side-by-side, but it still looks like that PlayStation 4 game. Granted, that has a new mode in it, so that feels like that's worth the $10 upgrade, because that'd be the cost of if it was a DLC pack anyway, right? But Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered actually has more going on for it on the graphics end. They've redone the mocap for a lot of conversations, because I remember reading at the time that they were very stiff and robotic-like. I did not play too much of Horizon Zero Dawn, and I never played the sequel. They were interesting to me, but I was never like, oh man, I just gotta. You know what I mean? I never just had to. That makes sense. So we'll take her in. Two things resulted in this, though. Sony raised the price of the PlayStation 4 version, I believe up to $40, if not mistaken, on their digital platform, right? Obviously, because if they didn't want people to, like, buy it for cheap and then just pay that $10 upgrade instead of paying $50 for the game like they wanted, right? Not only that, but apparently they've also delisted the game off of Steam and the Epic Game Store so that they can put in this new $50 version as well. I don't know if PC players get that $10 upgrade. I would hope so. I know the PC landscape is more accustomed to free replacements. Like when the Batman games and the BioShock games had their PS4 and Xbox One versions. You know, they were, at least the Batman games were in a different Unreal at the time, which kind of ruined it a little bit from what I remember. Those were free replacements on PC, and just a lot, that's just generally how it is. It's different expectations on that platform. I don't necessarily think that means that, like, people should feel like they're owed that. I think instead you should be grateful when they are free, if that makes sense, because they don't have to do it. PC gamers tend to be, and I'm gonna eat crow for this, but they tend to be entitled in some ways. And I'm not against the things that they want, to be fair. But you know, you're not owed some of these things. But yes, it is just kind of slimy to be like, yep, here's an end, this one's gone now, because we need you to get the new one. I understand back and forth that, like, part of the reason why there are these remasters in general of a lot of PlayStation games now, or just remasters of games in general that aren't that old, less than a decade to me, unless it's on, like, the 3DS or the Vita, you know what I mean, or a mobile game, then no. But if it's on a console and it's backwards compatible, you shouldn't need to. But the reason why is because, you know, they get these new teams, you know, B teams, C teams at some of these studios, and they need to give them something to work on. And, you know, they weren't around for this project, Horizon Zero Dawn, and so this is a perfect thing to catch them up to speed on their workflows, their technology, you know, how the individual studio operates, and then they can make money, and it's a way for Sony to keep a pulse on certain franchises. And it's a way for them to be like, all right, this game that's now selling for cheap that a lot of people have, let's replace it with a version that is now fuller price again. $50 isn't full price anymore. It's actually $20 cheap. It might actually be considered budget priced, which is kind of wild to think about. But that's just the way it is. So on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, the cops showed up. I hate when the cops show up. Never fun when the cops show up. Check something real quick. Boot one of the wild buddies out, these troublemakers. They're great early on for getting a couple extra popularity, but they always end my party, you know? So yeah, that's why Sony and these companies do these remasters so flippantly early. Yeah, I guess we'll take is because it's a way for them to make some easy money with a lower budget, while also teaching teams the kind of endless crunch type of